Well, my editing skills are crap, but can the same thing be said about sea fever? Stick around and find out. I don't know, that's something remotely like the John Carpenter's The Thing theme song, isn't it? I don't know, it's not really. Hi, I'm Peter Franson from christiangeekcentral.com and Spirit Blade Productions. This is my uncut review of Sea Fever. The synopsis on IMDb reads, the crew of a West of Ireland trawler, marooned at sea, struggle for their lives against a growing parasite in their water supply. Alright, so the basic animal here is isolated creature horror with some paranoia. It's John Carpenter's The Thing out in the ocean. But without the creature impersonating people, concept. But it's a very similar plot skeleton to John Carpenter's The Thing. So much so that I think if you're really familiar with that movie, you might find this one predictable, or you might find it it seems to go beyond homage, and to the point in my experience, I was like, boy, it just feels like I've seen this already, and we've done this already, I do appreciate that it really is about the drama. It's not just about the scares. There can be so many horror movies that are just about them constantly running from the creature, and oh, now it's bursting out of here, now it's doing this, oh, now this guy's exploding in a horrible way, or whatever, And it's just all about the fear, the moment-to-moment fear. But in between the horrible deaths in this movie are people dealing with the fallout of those deaths. They're dealing with grief. They're dealing with paranoia. They're dealing with, of course, fear as well. They're lashing out at each other in anger and stuff. And so you're seeing a lot of different emotions in this small ensemble cast as they are dealing with the creature, even while it's not around. And I really, really value that in a horror movie, when it can be very character-driven, like this movie is. It does get to the point, though, where I wanted to see more of the creature. The scarcity of the creature, the scarcity even of the body horror elements, compared to The Thing, left me really wanting a lot more out of this movie than what I got. The monster is also less of a monster, and it's more, I almost want to say more just kind of a force of nature. Not a force of nature, that makes it sound almost like wind and rain and stuff like that. It's a creature, but it's treated in many ways as a creature of nature. Not a menacing monster that's out to kill them, but just a creature that is doing what it is wired to do, and even later in the movie, they kind of treat it that way and kind of de-villainize it in a sense. And while I appreciate them coming at it from a different angle and treating the quote-unquote monster of this movie in a slightly different way than what we usually see in monster movies, it took something from the tension, from the stakes. It took something from the drama and how it was resolved in the last 30 minutes of the movie. I felt in general the stakes and the monster stuff all kind of plateaus around the halfway point in this movie, and from that point on does not escalate in the way that I want it to. In monster movies, you usually have that formula of hiding the monster at first and slowly revealing it over time. People are dying in more and more horrible and spectacular ways, and the stakes are getting higher, and the tension's getting bigger and bigger, and I just didn't sense that happening beyond the halfway point of this movie, at which point it just kind of seemed to stay about the same. The kinds of ways we were seeing people die and stuff were all about the same. Sometimes they went out with a whimper instead of with a gory bang or something like that, I felt like this movie, since it was borrowing so much from John Carpenter's The Thing, and also from what I saw in the trailer that I watched for this movie, it felt like it was setting up an expectation that it did not fulfill on, and that's kind of a bummer. A few moments in the end, in the last 20 minutes, no spoilers, they just don't feel right to me, or they don't quite feel properly motivated. There are character choices in the last 20 to 30 minutes that just kind of happened. Just characters just chose to do this thing, and it kind of left me scratching my head, including the very final climactic moment. I was like, huh, why did they do that? So there was just elements of the story in general that halfway through, and then especially in the last 30 minutes, really kind of let me down. What didn't let me down was the cast. This, for my taste, is a great cast. They hold up this movie and give it so much substance with their performances. It reminds me in some ways of like the original Alien movie, Ridley Scott's Alien, and how the camaraderie that existed between those characters in that small ensemble cast, which also resulted then in tension and infighting and stuff. You see something very similar in John Carpenter's The Thing, and likewise in this movie, it's about these characters that have really close ties to each other and have really bonded over time, working on this boat together, and those relationships are tested and stretched and snapped, and so seeing that all play out was a real treat and was really the thing that had me engaged from beginning to end in this movie. They're portraying grief and despair really effectively, all these actors, and various other character interactions and dynamics, so yeah, this movie for me was absolutely an experience that was carried and defined by the cast and their performances. As far as the stunts and visuals go, it is a small feeling movie in terms of like how much money was thrown at it to result in visual moments. There are nice practical creature and gore effects, and I much prefer practical over digital because usually I'm just cursed with an eye that just sees computer things when I see CG effects, no matter how good they are. So I really appreciated them adhering so much to practical effects. They did have some CG, but it was very minimal and well used. It was playing to CG's strengths, not overstepping what it can do for my eye, and so I really appreciated that, but I really wanted a whole lot more in the second half. I felt like they showed us the most, interesting glimpses of this creature by halfway through the movie, and we really didn't see anything new of the creature after the halfway point, or we didn't really see any crazy, gory deaths or disturbing visuals or anything like that. That were more intense than what we saw at around the halfway point of the movie. So I would have liked more throughout, and then I really wanted it to visually escalate in the back half, and especially in the last 30 minutes, and it just didn't. Now, as far as themes go, is there anything of moral, philosophical, or spiritual significance going on in this thing that might bring about some worthwhile thought or conversation? Of note, anyway, I don't know if it's not a theme, but of note to me is that two characters, at least, are some form of Christian, which is a bit unusual, especially when they are portrayed fairly favorably, as these characters were. Certainly they were flawed, as Christians are flawed, but they weren't villainized or showcased for their hypocrisy, which is usually the move that is made when Christians are in movies, So I thought that was of note. I think that right about now, the themes of quarantine and dangerous infection might resonate with people more than they would at other times. I mean, this movie was made without any knowledge that the coronavirus was going to be coming onto the scene and doing what it's been doing, So I don't think that's an intentional commentary at all. I just think that because that's kind of an element, it might resonate more with people, might make people might find it a cathartic experience somehow. Other people might find it something that they do not want to have any part of right now. For me, though, the most noteworthy, and I guess I would call it evergreen thematic moment, comes near the end. Again, no spoilers, I'll talk vaguely. But there are a couple characters making the choice, trying to decide between their lives, preserving their lives, and preserving the life of this creature that's been attacking them. Who deserves to live when both humans and this creature are just trying to survive? And it's not a clearly answered question from the movie's standpoint, I don't think. Now, biblically, we are meant to be stewards and caretakers of this world. That was the original design, and that's what we will be restored to. And so we shouldn't, even now, thoughtlessly extinguish life of any kind. But Jesus also says that each one of us is worth more to God than many sparrows, establishing a hierarchy of value between us and other creatures that should not be ignored either, even as we do try to be good caretakers of this world and its creatures. All right, now I have no idea what your tastes are in movies, but if I were a time traveler, I'd go back in time and say, Peter, With some reservations, I would say go ahead and skip this one, or watch it for free if you have the opportunity at some point. But just know that the last 30 minutes, well, even at the halfway point, this thing's going to plateau. It's not going to get more intense. The creature isn't going to get more bizarre and unveiled and more interesting and stuff. It's going to plateau at about the halfway point, and the 30 minutes at the end especially are going to just leave you wanting a whole lot more. Great performances from the cast will make this thing engaging for you throughout, even through to the end. But as a creature horror movie or a body horror movie, it just doesn't open up near enough in the back half to be memorable. You can get my spoiler-filled reactions to Sea Fever today, in which I unpack some of the moments that happened that I wouldn't dare mention in a review like this in the back half of the movie. That's in my spoiler car video series, just one of many perks that you can get for your support over at patreon.com/spiritblade productions. This one does not have an MPAA rating. I would describe it as R-ish for language, bloody gore, and some violence. Those are my thoughts. I'd love to get yours in the comments below. Please like, share, subscribe, click that notification bell to stay connected to this content. I do want to thank the Spirit Blade Insiders for making this review possible. Again, more information over at patreon.com/spiritblade productions. And then I hope you join us soon over at christiangeekcentral.com as we continue to geek out and seek the truth. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. We've got a ton going on here at Spirit Blade Productions and Christian Geek Central, including our in-depth Bible study for geeks, movie, game, and other entertainment reviews or commentary, live streams, Christian geek news, original audio dramas, and tons more. And on top of all that, you can become a Spirit Blade insider with an influential voice and get access to exclusive content and rewards. It's your involvement as a patron that will keep all of this going and growing, so I want to thank you for your consideration in that. For more information, please check out our Patreon page through the link below at patreon.com/spiritbladeproductions. Thanks for listening.